I want to talk about concentration, and in particular two types of concentration. Concentration when we're listening and concentration when we are reading. When concentration is effortless for us, we can do it for hours, not get tired, and take in and retain and recall lots of information. But the opposite's also true. So why does that happen? With listening, for us to be able to concentrate and retain for long periods, it means the skill of turning what you hear into thoughts you comprehend happens effortlessly. Now, we are the way we were born, so many are surprised to find that some have a totally different approach to turning what they hear into thoughts they understand. We say very cruelly of some, we can see their cogs whirring. What we mean is, when they're listening, they're working hard. What's that mean? We work hard when the skill of turning what we hear into thoughts we understand is itself not fully developed. That's the skill that the cerebellum is involved with for auditory processing or listening processing. When the cerebellum has done its job, it becomes automatic and effortless. And why is that? Well, when I'm having to think about everything before I can comprehend it, it's happening here in our thinking brain. When I don't have to think, it's effortless, it goes straight in. It's happening up here. The difference in processing speed and effort is unbelievable. Some scientists argue it's 40,000 times harder to process here as opposed to here. Some argue it's 1,000,000 times. I don't care. It's unbelievably more difficult to process here when you've got an incompletely developed auditory processing skill. So for those that are listening and can't concentrate for long, it's because of that. It's not a choice they have. They're not being lazy. They're actually working harder than anyone else to turn anything they hear into words they understand. So never call them lazy or stupid. They've just got incomplete auditory processing. So the difference in processing speed between here and here is unbelievable. And the difference in effort is unbelievable. And of course, anyone that's having to process here is going to get tired much, much quicker. This is full. This is where they need to retain it, so they ain't going to retain it either. So it's a double horrible whammy. And of course, by supporting the cerebellum, you increase the chances of auditory processing, that's listening processing, becoming a hardwired process. It doesn't have to happen here. It can happen here, where processing speed is many, many times faster and more effortless. So that's one way of determining whether or not you're going to find listening a skill that you can carry out effortlessly for long periods and retain it. You have to have that. Reading is slightly more complicated. The reason why some can't concentrate for long when reading is because their eye tracking is not a fully developed skill. Sometimes they use their finger, sometimes they use their ruler. Why? Because they're trying to support the skill of moving their eyes smoothly. But the fact is, their eye movement is being controlled here because the cerebellum has never finished its job of hardwiring that fine motor skill needed to move eyes smoothly. So as a consequence, their eyes moved in a jumpy fashion. And you can actually see that sometimes in some children and adults. So their eyes are jumping. Every time they look at a word, they're taking in the letters in a different order. And because sometimes their eyes are moving the wrong way, they take the letter in backwards. No wonder they have a problem with reading and spelling, and they certainly have a problem with concentration. They are working so hard here, just controlling their eyes, and then unscrambling the letters that they've just taken in, which they think must be a word. By the time they've done all that, they've wiped out any words they'd read before in that particular sentence or paragraph, so they start again. So concentration in reading for those that don't have fully developed eye tracking is going to be very hard, and they're not going to retain much. So again, developing the cerebellum helps to improve and develop hardwired fine motor skills like eye tracking, which frees up this space, means that when you look at words, you see the letters in the right order. It's far easier process for you to turn those letters into words you understand effortlessly, and you've got space to retain them. So I hope that makes a lot of sense. Concentration when you're listening, concentration when you're reading can be very hard. It's nothing to do with your intelligence. It's nothing to do with you choosing to find that difficult. And of course, you're not being lazy. You're actually working very hard. But supporting that can make all the difference. All the best.